the 1980s, many businesses started to introduce activity-based costing ABC system. The aim of this was to achieve a more accurate calculation of product costs. However, it soon became apparent that the information that had been purchased for activity-based costing and much wider use than just calculating the cost per unit of a product or service. Activity-based management can be defined as the entire set of action that can be taken on a better informed basis using ABC information. The aim is to achieve the same level of output with lower costs. Stages in ABM. The initial stages in ABM are the same as for ABC, so this should be familiar from early studies. First, identify the activities that the organization performs. Second, calculate the cost for each activities. Third, identify the cost driver for each activity. Okay, now we move to identify the activities. Organizations perform hundreds, if not thousands, of different activities. It would not be feasible or even beneficial to identify every activity that the organization performs, so judgment will need to be used to identify the significant activities, perhaps based on the amount of time that is spent performing them or based on the expected cost. Some organizations may try to define only high-level activities to keep the number of activities defined to less than 30, while other organizations may define much more detailed activity lists. This activity may be summarized in an activity dictionary. The following list show the example of some of the activities that may take place in a manufacturing organization. Okay, first, schedule production jobs. Second, set up machines. Third, receive receivable. Fourth, run machine and support existing product. Then introduce new product. And lastly, calculate the cost of the activities. All indirect costs must be apportioned to the particular activities that they relate to using an appropriate basis. Staff may be asked, for example, to estimate how much time they spend on each of the activities above so that the factory staff costs can be apportioned to the relevant activities. Other costs such as rent and heating and lighting will also have to be apportioned. This is similar to the principle of allocating and apportioning costs to cost centers in traditional absorption costing. As far as ABM is concerned, simply having the information about the cost of each activity may be all that is required in the case of ABC. However, it is then necessary to apportion the cost of each activity to the product using the cost driver information. Okay, now guys, we move to identify the cost driver. The cost driver is the factor that causes the cost of an activity to vary. In traditional costing, it was always assumed that the cost driver was volume of production measured either in the terms of the number of units or per proxy, such as the number of labor hours or the number of machine hours. In ABM, however, it is recognized that the cost of a particular activity may depend on something other than volume of output. In the case of sales order processing, the cost driver may be the number of order processes. So whether a sale order contains 5 line items or 10 line items, the amount of time to process it will be the same. ABC then apportion the cost of each activity among the different products that use them based on the use of drivers by each product.
Next is the advantages of activity-based management. This management method has proved its value in reducing man wastage, improving the process of quality, shortening of lead times, and introducing new products to be faster. Activity-based management was initially mainly used in industrial enterprise. Nowadays, activity-based management can be applied to all types of enterprise. Activity-based management also can be divided into a number of activities. These activities can be assessed on the basis of a cost-benefit analysis. Activity-based management divided into two, which is operational ABM and strategic ABM. Operational ABM is one of the greatest advantages of ABM is that costs are categorized by activities rather than by traditional cost categories. Having costs analyzed by activity provides much more relevant information to the managers. There may be activities that are being performed that do not add value, so this can be stopped. Management may also identify activities that cost more than expected and can investigate this. Management might also decide, for an example, that the cost of setting up machines is too high. Using their knowledge of the drivers of the activity, management would realize that having longer production runs could reduce the cost of this activity as the number of setups would be reduced. Many business improvement projects may require considerable capital expenditure, and it will be necessary, therefore, to do a cost-benefit analysis to establish whether it is worthwhile going ahead. ABM also can provide more accurate information about the potential savings from a particular project, therefore leading to a more accurate assessment. After completion of a business process improvement project, many businesses do not measure the benefit achieved by the project, and in some cases, it failed to take advantage of them. ABM models also provide information about costs incurred on the various activities, so it is easier to monitor how much the cost of an activity that have been cut by a particular project.
For the second type of activity-based management is strategic activity-based management, which is essentially involve deciding which product to make and which customer to sell to based on more accurate analysis to product and customer profitability that activity-based costing allow. In strategic-based activity management, it consists two applications. First, to help deciding which product or service to make. The use of ABC enables the cost per unit of the product or service to be measured accurately. Therefore, the profit per unit can be predicted. Many organizations find that when they rank their product according to total profit, it is typically that 20% of their product generated 300% of the company profit. This means that between them, the remaining 18% of product lost 200% of the company's profit. The loss-making products are normally those that are produced in low volumes or require a high level of customization. For the second application of strategic activity-based management is customer profitability analysis, where overhead are located to customer using activity-based management processes to obtain a more accurate analysis of the profit or loss generated by each customer. In traditional costing, it is assumed that if a customer generates positive contribution, then servicing that customer must increase the profit of the company. Using activity-based management, overhead costs are also proportionate to customer using appropriate cost driver, giving more accurate picture of how profitable each customer is. Activity-based management and activity-based costing are brought about radical change in cost management system. Activity-based costing is not a method of costing, but a technique for managing the organization better. It is one of exercise which measure the cost of performance of activity, resource and object which consume them in order to generate more accurate and meaningful information for decision making. The focus of activity-based costing is on accurate information about the true cost of product, services, processes, activities, distribution channel, customer segment, project and contract. Activity-based management makes this cost and operating information useful by providing values analysis, cost drivers and performance measure to initiate, drive or support improvement efforts and to improve decision making. Activity-based costing becomes activity-based management when it is used first to design product and service that meets or exceed customer expectation and can be produced and delivered at a profit. Second, to signal whether continuous or discontinuous re-engineering improvement in quality, efficiency and speed are needed. Third, to to guide product mix and investment decision. Fourth, to choose among alternative supplier. And next, to negotiate about price, product features, quality, delivery and service with customer. And to employ efficient and effective distribution and service processes to target market and customer segment. And last, to improve the value of the organization, product and service.
Next is the risk of activity-based management. A risk with this management method is some of activity have implicit values, so that they are not immediately identifiable as a financial added value. A pleasant workplace can help retain good staff, but this cannot be qualified as an additional value in operational activity-based management. A customer who does not generate a profit could still open up new lead and prospect despite the fact that strategic activity-based management identifies him as a low-value customer. Managers should recognize and interpret these implicit values and learn to use activity-based management as a neutral starting point. Lastly, activity-based management gives managers an understanding of costs and helps teams to make certain decisions that benefit the whole organization and not just their own activities. Now, look at this example. The situation is, in hometown, there are several providers of electricity and domestic consumers can easily switch from one provider to another. One of the providers of electricity is First Electric. The company recently had an aggressive advertising campaign and increased its customer base from 30,000 to 40,000. Management was surprised to discover that this led to a fall in profits. The company introduced customer profitability analysis using activity-based principles. The analysis identified the following activities along with their cost per unit of drivers. The activities is meter readings. The drivers for this is number of visits and cost per unit of driver is 20 ringgit. Next activities is customer service. The driver is number of calls. The cost per unit of driver is 30 ringgit. Next is invoicing. The driver for this invoicing is number of invoice. The cost per unit of driver is 10 ringgit. The last activity is customer complaints. The drivers for these activities is numbers of complaints and cost per unit of these drivers is 25 ringgit. This meter reading took place every 3 months, after which an invoice was issued. Now look, using this information, First Electric was able to analyze accurately the profit per customer. The company was surprised to learn that it made a loss on 20% of its customer and only broke even on a further 30%. In order to remedy the situation, the company made a number of changes. First changes is reduce the number of meters reading to once per year and issue invoice based on estimated consumption for the other quarters of the year. Second changes is it introduced a website where customers could enter their own meter reading if they were not at home at the date of the reading, thus reducing the amount of time used by the customer service department. These actions are examples of operational activity-based costing as they relate to reducing the cost of existing activities. Third is the last one. The company also made attempt to stop supplying loss-making customers by increasing price above those of competitive, encouraging loss-making customers to switch to other providers while offering big discounts to profitable customers, encouraging them to remain loyal. This is an example of strategic activity-based costing. That's all for the risk and the example for activity-based management. Thank you.